Have you ever walked into a room and felt a sudden chill as if you're not alone? What if that room was in your own home? Today we're venturing into the eerie world of haunted houses. From a family in Texas tormented by demonic forces, to the historic Whaley House in San Diego where the past refuses to die, and finally to a secluded house in Maryland that even the US government wants to keep a secret. One of these tales is a true story that has haunted generations. The other two? Well, they're imaginative stories. Can you discern the real horror from the hoaxes? Stick around to find out. If you're new here, we explore the bizarre, the paranormal, and the extraordinary every single day. Subscribe to our channel for your daily dose of strange mysteries. Now let's dim the lights and open the door to these haunted houses. Are you ready? Let's begin. Story 1: The Demonic Disappearance. In the small, devout town of Fort Paul, Texas, the Wilson family was known for their unwavering faith and community involvement. Pat and Lily Wilson were pillars of their local church, always putting religion first and doing what they could for the community. Their young daughter, Samantha, however, had grown tired of the church's teachings and rituals. She found the sermons dull and the hymns monotonous. In a rebellious act to get back at her parents for making her attend church, Samantha decided to pretend she was summoning demons into their home. At first, Pat and Lily dismissed their daughter's antics as childish pranks. But then, strange occurrences began to plague their household. Lights flickered without reason, cabinets burst open, spilling dishes onto the floor, and both Pat and Lily began having the same nightmarish dreams filled with demonic imagery and hellish landscapes. The tipping point came one afternoon when they heard guttural voices emanating from Samantha's room while she was supposed to be napping. Rushing in, they found her eyes half open, darting erratically, while she mumbled words in an unrecognizable language. Terrified, they consulted their priest, who was already concerned about Samantha's rejection of the church. He insisted on performing an exorcism immediately, convinced that a demonic entity had taken residence in their home and possibly in Samantha herself. On a fateful evening in June of 1932, the priest arrived at the Wilson home. For safety, Samantha was tied to her bed with thick ropes. As the exorcism commenced, the house seemed to come alive with malevolent energy. Lights flickered, walls shook, and a palpable darkness filled the air. Despite the priest's fervent prayers and incantations, the entity within Samantha proved too powerful. With a guttural scream, she broke the ropes binding her and lunged at the priest. Pat and Lily fled in terror, and when they returned with the police, they found the priest dead and their daughter missing. Arrested on suspicion of murder, Pat and Lily were put on trial. Despite character witnesses from the church and community, the evidence against them was damning. During the trial, they were allowed to post bail and returned home under police surveillance. The next morning, they were found dead, their bodies bearing the marks of a ritualistic killing, complete with demonic symbols carved into their flesh. The trial was abandoned, and the town was left in a state of shock and horror. 3 lives had been lost, and Samantha was still missing. The Wilson house was eventually demolished, but the land on which it stood remains untouched, overgrown, and forsaken. As for Samantha, she was never seen again. Some say she was taken by the demon as a consequence of her rejection of faith, while skeptics argue that the entire episode was a hoax gone horribly wrong. Yet those who have ventured near the ruins of the Wilson home claim to have made contact with Samantha through Ouija boards and spirit boxes. She purportedly claims responsibility for the 3 deaths, adding another layer of mystery to an already chilling tale. Whether you believe it or not, the story of the Wilson family remains one of the most unsettling chapters in Texas history, a grim experience that could possibly happen to anyone who dabbles in the unknown. Story 2: Spirits of 1857. In the heart of San Diego's Old Town, nestled amid historic buildings and modern-day attractions, lies a house that stands as a testament to California's multifaceted past. Known as the Whaley House, this unassuming structure is more than just a museum or a glimpse into 19th century life. It holds the weight of lives lived, histories intersected, and yes, spirits that are said to still roam its halls. Built in 1857 by Thomas Whaley on land that was formerly a public execution ground, the house has served multiple purposes over the years. From a granary to San Diego's first commercial theater, and from a general store to the family residence of the Whaley clan, the building has worn many hats. However, as the years passed, it became apparent that the house had absorbed the residual energy of its tumultuous past, becoming one of the most haunted places in America. Even during its construction, Thomas Whaley was aware of the property's eerie history. He knew it had been the execution site of Yankee Jim Robinson, a man convicted of grand larceny. Yankee Jim was hanged on a wagon, but the noose was set too loosely, allowing his feet to graze the ground. It took him a slow, agonizing 45 minutes to die. Ignoring the grim past, Whaley proceeded with the construction, a decision that many believe set the course for the house's haunted history. Not long after moving in, members of the Whaley family reported hearing heavy footsteps moving through the house, particularly near the stairway. Thomas Whaley himself described the sounds as strikingly similar to the footsteps of Yankee Jim. Other incidents began to accumulate over the years, as if the house were collecting an ever-expanding roster of ghostly inhabitants. Anna Whaley, Thomas's wife, has been seen floating through the downstairs rooms and garden, her ethereal form often accompanied by the aroma of a phantom perfume. Many speculate that she still cares for the home, ensuring that it remains a center of attention in a world that has long since moved on. The Whaley children are also said to haunt the place, particularly the couple's 18-month-old son, Thomas Jr., who died of scarlet fever. Visitors often hear the pitter-patter of little feet and an occasional giggle, always just out of sight. What adds a layer of authenticity to these reports is the range of people who have experienced them. From tourists to paranormal investigators, from skeptics to psychics, many have felt a peculiar energy inside the house. Unexplained temperature drops, the rustling of invisible skirts, and sudden emotional shifts are just a few of the paranormal phenomena that have been reported. The Whaley house is not a place of horror, but a place of layered histories, each with its own emotional residue. Despite its haunted reputation, or perhaps because of it, the house has become a landmark, drawing both history buffs and thrill seekers alike. So, if you find yourself in Old Town San Diego, take a moment to visit the Whaley house. As you walk through its rooms, try to remember that you are not just a spectator, but a participant in its long, intricate history. You may come for the tales of hauntings, but you'll stay for the compelling narrative of a family and their home intertwined with the fabric of American history. And who knows, you might even encounter Anna, Yankee Jim, or little Thomas Jr. Perhaps they'll make you feel welcome, or perhaps they'll make you feel like an intruder in their eternal home. Either way, the Whaley house remains a place where the veil between the living and the dead seems incredibly thin, where history lives and breathes, reminding us all of the complexities of life and the mysteries of what comes after. Story 3: Unwanted Visitors. In a secluded area of rural Maryland, just a mile away from a mysterious nuclear military base, stood a house that had become the subject of local legends and whispered rumors. Over the years, two families had lived there, and both had stories that were as unsettling as they were inexplicable. The first family often reported seeing strange lights hovering over their home. Their dogs would frequently awaken in the middle of the night, growling and barking at the back door that led to a heavily wooded area. The family's tolerance reached its limit one fateful night, when a bright light from the sky shone directly into their bedroom window. The light lingered for about 10 to 15 minutes before vanishing. There was no sound of an aircraft, and the incident occurred around 1:15 a.m. They decided they'd had enough and moved out shortly after. The last family to occupy the house had even more extraordinary experiences. Within the first week, their German Shepherd began barking frantically at the back door as dusk settled. Assuming the dog needed to relieve himself, they let him out, only to watch him sprint into the woods and disappear. Despite their calls and a subsequent search, the dog never returned. Days later, the wife experienced something that defied explanation. She awoke in the middle of the night to find shadowy figures standing at the foot of her bed. She was groggy and paralyzed, able to move only her eyes. The figures were small, with large heads and spindly arms. They stood there watching her. She dismissed it as a nightmare until it happened again. This time, her dream included being on an examination table under a bright light, surrounded by beings with gray skin, large heads, and black eyes. She couldn't move but felt them examining her right arm. She woke up with a burning sensation in her forearm. A visit to the doctor revealed something shocking. She had been branded by a radioactive tool. A perfect square was visible on her arm under special imaging. That was the last straw. The couple decided to move. When they listed the house, it sold almost immediately for well above the asking price. The new owner, the U.S. government. Today, the house is surrounded by a high fence and warning signs that read, "Property of the U.S. military, keep out." Locals occasionally report seeing strange lights in the direction of the house, fueling speculation about what really happened there. Some believe the government was aware of the otherworldly activities plaguing the residents. Others think it was a government ploy to acquire the land, given its proximity to the military base. Whatever the truth, one thing is clear. The U.S. government doesn't want anyone digging too deep into the mysteries of that haunted house in rural Maryland, and so the stories continue to circulate, each more chilling than the last, about the house that sits too close for comfort to a place shrouded in its own set of enigmas. So which of these tales had you on the edge of your seat, wondering if it could be true? Was it the demonic disturbances tormenting a family in Texas, or perhaps the Whaley House in California with its long history of spectral residents? Or did you find the UFO encounters near a mysterious military base in Maryland to be the most plausible? The story that steps from the pages of folklore to become a haunting reality is none other than the Whaley House in San Diego. This historic site is more than just a relic of the past. It's a living, breathing entity that has captured the attention of paranormal investigators, tourists, and skeptics alike. Built in 1857 by Thomas Whaley on land that was once a public execution ground, the Whaley House has been the subject of numerous paranormal investigations. The reports of ghostly activity are not just recent phenomena, but have been part of the house's lore for generations. From the heavy footsteps of Yankee Jim Robinson, who was executed on the property, to the ethereal presence of Anna Whaley, the house's matriarch, the Whaley House has been a focal point for those interested in the paranormal. What makes this story even more compelling is the range of people who have reported these experiences. Whether you're a history buff, a thrill seeker, or someone who's generally skeptical about the paranormal, the Whaley House offers something for everyone. The unexplained temperature drops, the rustling of invisible skirts, and the sudden emotional shifts experienced by visitors add layers of intrigue to this already fascinating historic site. So, if you're ever in San Diego's Old Town, consider visiting the Whaley House. You might walk in for the history, but find yourself staying for the mystery. It's a place where the past is not just remembered, it's relived in the most inexplicable ways.
Wait, don't leave yet. You still need to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, watch this video here. Do it.